Hello guys, hi, welcome. So today I found a serial killer. This one is very interesting because he honestly thought by killing a certain amount of people was doing the town a favor. He was cleansing where he was living at. And that doesn't really make sense, but he believed that his killings were justified. So today we're going to talk about a Iranian serial killer again, and his name is Saeed Hanaei, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And this guy, he was so messed up. He just believed that he had to insert himself in other people's situations. As I go on about this case, you will realize that he is just so judgmental and he cares about what you do basically. So let's get into it. So Saeed Hanaei was a construction worker. He lived in Iran. He's 39 years old and he is known as the Spider Killer. Saeed killed 16 different women that were drug addicts and sex workers in 2001. And he believed that these killings were justified because he wanted to cleanse the streets of Iran. So with that said, he's very judgmental and he decided to take matters into his own hands by murdering sex workers and addicts. So who is this Saeed person? Well, he was born in 1962. His exact date of birth is not known. He had a dysfunctional relationship with his mother. His mother was very abusive, and when he was younger, I don't know how old he was, his mom would grab him by the arm, scratch him until he would bleed. She was very physically, emotionally, verbally abusive, and she just really didn't like her son. I also read somewhere that his mom would bite him. She was a biter. She really bit him so hard at one point where she was actually trying to rip off his flesh, like from his arms, his abdomen, his legs. She would just start chomping on her own son. So his dad, on the other hand, was absent his entire life. So he doesn't know who his dad is, what he looks like. He has no information on him and his location is unknown. So let's fast forward a little bit. So at the time of the murders, he was a married man with 3 children. He was a construction worker by profession and he also served in the Iran and Iraq war. Saeed targeted prostitutes in the southeast area of Iran in a city called Mashhad, and he was just picking up prostitutes in his van and then he would take them to his home where they would give him sexual favors, and then shortly after that a flip would switch and he would just strangle them. So let's talk about the victims of today's case. So on August 7th, 2000, a lady called Ansfa disappeared one day, and she also had a 9-year-old daughter. On August 10th, a lady called Layla was found strangled to death in a nearby alley in the city of Mashhad. She's been strangled to death. They just found her corpse and police didn't know what to do with it. On August 11th, a woman called Farida was found in a yellow sack within the same city, strangled to death. Yet the police had no leads and they didn't understand why these bodies were showing up. So a few months go by and another lady called Masmuma was found strangled to death in nearby bushes within the same city. All bodies were found within a 2-mile radius of one another. So on February 16th, a lady named Sarah was found strangled to death in a veil near a construction company site. On February 29th, the strangled body of a 45-year-old woman named Azima Abdi was found on the side of the road, just like the others. On March 19th, the strangled body of a 50-year-old woman named Sakina was found wrapped in black cloth, hidden in an alleyway within the same city. On April 14th, yet another body was found. This was the body of Miriam, a 35-year-old mother that was also a sex worker. Her body was found alongside another 35-year-old victim named Toba, and she was also wrapped in veils and cloth, and they were discarded within the same area, like in a back road behind some building somewhere in the city of Mashhad. It's quite sloppy with their crimes because they're not even trying to, conceal the bodies. Not like they should, but there was no regard for, why they would do this. They just would strangle the person and just toss them aside. And I just don't understand, like, why they do these things. Like, it just gets my head going. Like, why take someone's life? What gives you the right to do that? Sadly, the police weren't actively trying to close these cases because sex workers at the time, especially in a country where they don't condone this kind of behavior, is frowned upon, and they just chose to not investigate it because they were sex workers and addicts and no one would miss them. So there were 5 more victims and they were killed in a similar fashion. They were lured into his car, he strangled them, and then he would toss their bodies all over the city. And then that's how he would discard the bodies. He would just throw them to the side of the road and wrap them in cloth. Saeed was later apprehended by police because he tried to kidnap his final victim, but she managed to escape. This victim is not named. However, she did punch him in the stomach and managed to flee right away from him. She ran and ran as far as she could, and it took her a couple of days to report him because it was said that she was very worried about how the police would react to her as a sex worker, as an addict. She was afraid of police brutality, and it was very common in that city. So why was Saeed killing prostitutes? And what made him feel so entitled doing that? Well, the only reason why he was targeting sex workers and addicts is because there was a rumor that his wife was mistaken for being a prostitute, and he was never the same since. So he was blaming all the prostitutes within the city for what they have said behind his wife's back. And he believed that her reputation was tarnished, and I can't really make sense of it, but I'm just telling you what I've read, and this is his way of thinking. Saeed said this in court. He said the prostitutes are as worthless to me as cockroaches on the streets. He said all of this a day before his execution. He also said, and I quote, "I could not sleep at night if I didn't kill at least one sex worker, and I do admit that I became addicted to killing women of the night." So where was his wife and children during this time? Well, his wife was away for a few weeks with the children, so he used that time to get in his car or on his motorbike to, seduce and lure all these sex workers one by one to his house, where he would strangle them to death after having sexual relations and all of that. And then he would just put them in a sack or whatever he could find that particular evening and just throw them outside like they didn't matter. And this was around the same time Mohammed BJ was murdering children. So it was within the same country, but in different villages, different cities. He also admitted to the court that he saw a police officer that was picking up his 3rd victim off the street, and he helped the police officer to put this woman's body back into the police van. And that's when the police kind of became suspicious of him, thinking, why is this man so keen on cleaning up a crime scene? It's not like an everyday civilian would do this. So they had their eye on him. So I believe that's how he got apprehended. Saeed was also found guilty for forging and intimidating a morale police officer. He used that tactic to persuade sex workers to come home with him. He just pretended to be someone he's not. So he got charged for that too. Not only would he murder sex workers, Saeed would also harass people that were unmarried. He would use his fake morale police documents to target people of Mashhad. He would walk around and he would find an unmarried couple and tell them that, living in sin isn't a way to live. Just this guy, he just was sticking his nose in other people's business, and he was obsessed about doing what's clean and what's right, and he tried to cleanse the whole city by engaging in other people's personal lives. So the courts decide that Saeed needs to be executed, and he was hanged on April 8th, 2002 in Mashhad prison. This guy, the audacity of this man, you know, he was sleeping with sex workers and he hates them all at the same time. It's just, he's not thinking logically. I don't know. I can't label it. I really can't. My heart goes to the families affected by this man, this barbaric lunatic. He wanted to cleanse the city of Iran. Like, what's that even mean? With that said, this case is so messed up, like I've mentioned, and please let me know your thoughts down below. Do let me know who you want me to talk about next week. I'm open to suggestions. Anyways, guys, thank you for being here with me today. I do appreciate it. I really do. Please stay safe, stay hydrated, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye.